Welcome everyone, and I would like to welcome our viewers as well. And I would also like to welcome my guest here today. Hi, Mantwa. How are you doing?
Hi, Pilelani. I'm good. I'm excited. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, thank you again for being available for us to have this chat. And first things first, I think I have to introduce myself. Well, my name is Pelelani Ngubane, and I'm part of an organization called Be Smart SA, which is an organization that focuses on trying to help build the next generation of accountants, auditors, and bookkeepers. And as part of the things that we do as an organization, we try to call in professionals so that we can have chats with the professionals so that they can share their journeys so that the younger generation can be inspired and also have to get also mentorship and all of the guidance and also to help them maneuver around the industry because it's not something that is very easy. And today on our show today we have Umantwa. Mantwa, I just wanted to get it from you. How is the weather there in Venda?
It's hot today. It was raining yesterday. So
Yeah.
the weather is good. It's nice and warm. We're heading into winter, but at least it's not a Joburg winter. So we're happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you again. I wanna keep on saying it. Thank you for being available for us to have this chat. Yes. And also the weather this side in Cape Town is not too bad, but it's raining today. But we needed to have this conversation. But before we move on with anything else, I think maybe you need to also introduce yourself to our viewers. Tell us a bit about your background. Who's Mantwa Madiba?
Mantwa is a vendor girl born
Hmm.
to exile parents. The
Yeah.
reason my dad named me Mantwa is because of where we were when I was born, where Mkontowesizwe were taking up armed forces. It was time to fight. For the first time, they were like, okay, let's fight. So
Yeah.
I was born to exile parents in exile, moved around Sada quite a bit because my parents were, I guess, operating in those different areas.
Yeah.
We then came back to South Africa in 92. And yeah, life began. And my dad was then incorporated into the army after democracy. And I grew up as an army brat in Pretoria. And yeah, the rest is basically history. So I'm this girl that didn't understand why we couldn't come home. Obviously, that's what obviously prompted why I studied law, just to understand, like, it doesn't make sense why we couldn't come home. But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's basically me.
Thank you for sharing that because I think our viewers would be able now to relate with you and also get to connect with you, during this interview. And I think something that is also very important, I would also like you to give us a bit of your background in terms of the experience now on the field that you studied and all of that. Just give us a summary of yourself as a professional now.
Okay, so like I said, the reason I studied law is because I just wanted to understand how could we have rules and regulations that treated people differently just based on the color of their skin. And I wanted to unpack that. I just found it very interesting, listening to stories from my parents. I wanted to understand why my dad at some point had to open a letter on the other side of the house. Didn't realize that people were actually hunting us down. So
Yeah.
that's what sparked the interest in law. So I matriculated. I went to boarding school in the Free State, matriculated, and then decided, okay, fine, let me get away from home. Home was Pretoria, and I did my first year in UWC, then later transferred to UP, did my LLB there, and then I applied for articles because I really wanted to practice law.
Yeah.
I did that. I did my articles. It was 2 years of articles. I got admitted as an attorney in the second year of my articles, and I thought that would
Yeah.
be the space for me. Unfortunately, didn't pan out that way.
Yeah.
I then decided to join the legal advising services. I later worked for an investment bank in Santon, but
Yeah.
again, never feeling fulfilled at the
Yeah.
time. And in my practice, when I practiced as a candidate attorney as well as an attorney, I did a
Yeah.
whole range of things. I was in commercial litigation. I did some criminal work, but somehow I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I was very fortunate. A friend of mine said to me, you know what, Manta, you're not enjoying your space and your time at the investment bank. Why don't you just come and teach and figure out what you want to do with your career?
Yeah.
And I've never looked back. I was
Mm.
lucky to have people in spaces that could say, listen, that has always been, it's always been my colleagues that have directed me into different places and opened up opportunities, or
Yeah.
said there was even getting into the investment bank. It was a friend of mine who had interviewed and said, okay, fine, I didn't make it. Maybe you should follow into that space. And I was there and I did the work and I learned a lot. However, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I started teaching in 2011. Yes,
Yeah.
2011. And I've never looked back. It's
Yeah.
been an amazing space for me.
Mm.
Yeah, and it directed me in terms of what postgraduate studies I had to do. Because in order for me to be an academic, I had to do my master's, I had to do my PhD. I had to, evolve as an academic, and that's what I've been doing. But my greatest passion has been my students. Yeah, no, so much joy every single time your students graduate. It's like you're graduating over and over again. So it's a very, maybe selfish career choice because I benefit so much. My students don't believe that, but I
Mm.
really have found the right space for me.
Mm. Yes, honestly speaking, from where I'm standing, I think that is going to be part of my questions, because I know that you studied law, so probably your first plan was to practice law as a lawyer or as an attorney, but you finally found yourself as a lecturer and also contributing to the society the way that you're contributing, and it was something that was very that I was really interested into knowing why did you like come to be basically a lecturer, and also having had been one of your students back then in 2016, and that is when we met, and yourself there as a lecturer at Mango City University of Technology in 2016. Well, please tell me, how was that year for you? Because that was your first year coming into Mango City University of Technology, and how was that year for you?
Oh man, that year was such an eye opener because I had taught students in Gauteng, and people always
Mm.
say students are different everywhere, and coming into that space and also lecturing commercial law to accounting students like yourself was also
Yeah.
different because I no longer had LLB students, and I was like, okay, fine, would I translate? Will my teaching translate in the same way? And I think
Mm.
the nice thing about teaching is that you really recognize that people learn in different ways and different environments create different types of students. But I think for me, is just knowing how much I had to learn in order to be good at my job. So it was interesting, it was new, the language was different, but hey, I tried. I tried because there has
Yeah.
to be some code switching in class sometimes just to make sure that everybody's on the right track. So for
Yeah.
me, it was such a beautiful environment. I think the group that I first, and that's who I fell in love with, the group that I
Yeah.
got, I was fortunate to get you guys as my
Yeah.
first because oh my goodness,
Yeah.
the dynamic group, the diversity in the group, the intelligence. Oh my goodness, I learned from you guys as well because just the way of thinking, especially because you guys can count. The reason I left the private bank space because I can't count. 1 + 1 is
Yeah.
11. And then you have students say, but ma'am, this
Yeah.
is theory. I was happy that I was able to bring the theory alive to you because I really had to go the extra mile because for you guys, it's like, no, where are the numbers? There's no numbers.
Yeah. Well, commercial law, I think it was one of the modules that like wanted more from us and to trying to engage with it because it was something that is a foreign language, if I may say. Because honestly speaking, we were accounting students, and the only thing that we know about accounting is that listen, if you want to be an accountant, you need to be good with numbers. You need to know your accounting. Then we're introduced to taxation, which we know that taxation will always link into accounting. But then now coming to varsity, now you're introduced to this foreign module that is called commercial law. What does that have to do with what we are doing? I think again it's something that you need to explain to our students here in this platform is to say how does this commercial law link with what we are doing as accountants?
Absolutely, absolutely. I always say to my first years or any group of students that I teach that law affects every single aspect of your life. whether you're going into employment, even just turning on the water in the morning, the municipality did not give you that for free. So it affects every single element of your life. I think the example I always give to my students that your parents are not giving you pocket money because they love you, is because they have to, relating specifically to commercial and commercial transactions, whether it's registering a business, whether it's entering into a valid contract, you as an accountant would have to know that, listen, have I complied with those requirements to enter into a legally binding agreement? And those principles are very important for specifically people in your field and any other field, so that you know what you're doing, you know what's lawful, what's not, what's actually possible. Can I enter into this type of transaction? Is it actually possible? So since law ties in every aspect of your life, most courses, the majority of courses in South Africa will have a legal element. You spoke about taxation, for example. Those principles telling you whether the government can, take money from us, etc., they are legislated. It's not because somebody woke up and decided. Everything is tied to the law. So since it is, every field should have a legal component in their qualification.
Yeah, I think you are very like accurate in the way that you are explaining it, because I'm just thinking and thinking about how attending those classes really like helped me and also enlightened me in terms of how can I enter into contracts with different people, and how even to set up businesses, how to have these difficult conversations, because again, it's like engaging in this module basically helped me to make me like the professional that I am today. And also to think about it, as accountants, the only thing that you'll be thinking is that I just want to be an accountant, you don't think about the business side of things, you don't think about the law side of things, and how do all of these things incorporate into making it the industry that it is right now, and I think having these modules that are additional into just being an accountant or just being accounting students, it also helps to also enlighten our students.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a necessary, because it's going to be a part of the industry that you're in. So why not?
Yeah. And honestly speaking, having had been a part in part of your classes, and also having had like sat down in different tables with people attending your classes, and also having had an opportunity to also interview some of your students, you'll see once this content goes out, like I've interviewed a couple of students that you that went into your classes, and they had only the good things to say about you. I interviewed the likes of Sanele Tebekulu, and he also mentioned that you are part of the people that he would say he looked up to you, and he did not only mention you, but he explained that Mantwa is one of the people that basically inspired me to be like the professional that I am today, and that was on the record. And I felt like it was very important that I also call you in. And I also had like another interview with Iviwe Matrose, and I know that you guys are very close. So I really wanted to also call you in and get from you what fuels your teaching passion.
It's you guys.
Hmm.
I'm specifically going to go to your graduation.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And that was the first cohort that I taught that was graduating on that day.
Hmm.
Hearing your name and hearing how you graduate, you should be so proud of yourself.
Yeah.
For the whole was an applause and standing and rooting for you, because you did so well. Not everybody can graduate cum laude or summa cum laude. Not everybody. I didn't, for example, and
Yeah.
you did. So it's exactly
Yeah.
that. It's to see your students succeed.
Hmm.
It's to figure out ways of connecting with different students, because you guys all learn in a different way. You might be one of the students that hears it for the first time and you're fine. Somebody needs me to do it 6 or 7 times so that they can reach the
Yeah.
level that they can be the best at, and to find innovative ways of teaching, to make sure that everybody, you carry that whole group, whether it's 500 students, 300 students, or even 80 students in that class, and to know that you have done your best in terms of trying to connect everybody to the content that you are presenting presenting. I think that's what drives me. And just to see you guys succeeding, you guys are doing exceptional things in this world, and
Yeah.
to enjoy those moments with you is just exceptional. So yeah, it's my students. It's my students. I must say, when I
Yeah.
was in the US doing my PhD, I literally got
Yeah.
into a depression, and my therapist said to me, "What do you think is missing?" And you guys were missing.
Yeah.
You guys were missing. And he said, then
Yeah.
teach through your writing. And
Mm.
it's so impactful. And that's how impactful you guys are in my life. The teaching part and connecting with students is such an important part of my life that really fulfills me. So it even
Mm.
took me there that I was like, okay, something is missing. And then when he said, no, act like you are teaching in the classroom and type away. And that really helped
Yeah.
me. And yeah, it's the joy I get from you guys.
Yeah, I think again, there is a lot that you shared there, and if I were to also say, that I sometimes forget, but I think graduating diploma cum laude was one of the highlights of my career, and that thing happening like at a varsity level, it's made me feel like, hey, I can make it work. I do not need to wait for opportunities. Let me try and chase opportunities because basically there are no limit. Again, looking at where we were coming from, like a lot of our students in our class and a lot of our students that were attending the university that I went to, like were most of students that were like not privileged enough, if I may say, or not coming from like proper good backgrounds, if I may say. They had backup. No, they were all coming there to try and make it work and to be part of that setup, and also get an opportunity to have people like you guys that were lecturers that were always giving like your A game there. It also gave us the opportunity to ensure that we try and grab as much information as we can, because just like I've explained, people were coming from different places. Maybe it was their first time getting people who are actually passionate into doing what they are doing, and it's something that also helped us to be the professionals that we are today. Hence, just like how we are trying now to inspire the upcoming young professionals, we want them to see that, listen, there is a need for you guys to engage with this content. There is a need for you guys to engage in topics that are not too comforting. And again, dreams are there to be chased. You need to have dreams. You must not limit yourself. And again, it's something that I think it's not emphasized enough in the nowadays like a society. And hence, that is why, guys, we are calling you guys in these interviews. And again, I want to thank you for being available for us to chat. And I want to ask something again that is very important. I just want to hear it from you, having had like being a person who's also have some experience on facilitating over the last 8 years. I just want to hear it from you. How is the feeling of seeing the professionals now that financial accountants, facilitators, accountants, and that you have contributed to them being the professionals that they are today? How's that feeling?
Oh man, it's amazing. And just, finding the time to connect with you guys and hearing where you guys are. It's so fulfilling. Not everybody gets to be successful, and success is it basically varies from person to person. People that have reached their goals, because success is not only a measure of money, and most people think it's that only, but it's literally, like you're saying, you put it quite nicely. We had students from diverse backgrounds, and for some of them literally came from nothing, and now are something. They're able to provide for their families, and those were their goals. I remember sitting in class and saying to you guys, why are you here? What is your purpose? Why do you sit here in class day after day, and tap into that so that you can reach that goal? So to see you guys achieve your goals, achieve your dreams, and you're still going, you're still at it, you're
Yeah,
forever just going forward. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little bit not so motivated, I tap into that. I'm like, okay, what are my students doing? And at the end
yeah,
of the day, that inspires me even more. So you guys are a complete inspiration for me. It's so nice to see how you all have evolved. It's even if it's personal milestones. Some of you are getting married. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm invited, I'm going, just to see you guys
yeah,
grow up. So, And then I remember sitting with Iviwe 2 weeks ago, and she said to me, "I'll never forget this and this and this that you said." And for me, I was just talking.
Yeah.
And then she'll mention it, and she'll be like, "Yeah, no, ma'am, I'm still the hardest worker in the room," and that's powerful for me because you
Mm.
don't have to be the smartest. It helps if you are, but even if you are not, you can still get to where you want to go. So that and seeing you guys do that, and all different cohorts doing it, whether it's my LLB students, whether it's the accounting students for when I left Mangosuthu, the different cohorts of students just doing their thing. And with social media, it's easy to catch up with you guys because you see you guys doing your thing. So for me, it's very
Yeah.
fulfilling, and it reminds me that I am in the right space.
Yeah. Honestly speaking, I think they can relate, having had like this time to also engage with students over the years, that when I moved from Mango City where I used to work, then coming here to Cape Town, then I remember like 2 years after I came to Cape Town, I met this guy when I was just working at a taxi rank, and he was like, "Hey, Mr. Ngubane," and like, "Who's calling me Mr. Ngubane?" And I turned and I was like, "Hi, how are you?" And he was like, "Hey, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good." And I want to say thank you. And I'm like, yeah, you want to say thank you? And what else? And he was like, hey, listen, you have contributed positively to my career. And now I'm working as an accountant. And like, you attended my classes and now you're an accountant. I felt like fulfilled seeing like people or students that I used to teach now finally hitting the ground running, because again, there is a big transition from it being a student into being a professional. And I think it's something that we do not talk about that much. And it's also something that I might say it comes with luck, because just like how you've explained, not everyone gets to be successful. As much as you were to go to varsity, you went to varsity. But again, I always tell my students to say that the qualification, it's what you make out of it. It's not only about the paper that you are getting, but it's about what are you going to use that paper for. Some of the
Absolutely.
students will tell you that, listen, after this, I want to be an entrepreneur. After this, I just want to be an accountant. After this, I want to do this and that. So people, they do different things with these qualifications, and it's nice to see people trying to make it work. And what do you have to say about that?
No, I think the different avenues, like looking at, because obviously as a facilitator, a lecturer, a teacher, whatever you want to call yourself,
Mm.
you get to engage with students that you don't have necessarily taught in the formal sphere, but maybe facilitated entrepreneurship training,
Yeah,
and to see those people even become entrepreneurs because looking at the economy, etc.
yeah,
It's very interesting that in varsity you think you're only going for that paper, but you acquire so many skills if you tap into the resources of the university. So for me, it's for students to see that you're not only there, your CV should not only say, yes, I studied summa cum laude and that's it, but
yeah.
what else did you do? What else did you do at varsity? Were you an SI? Were you a tutor? Did you later become whatever in that space? Did you join different committees? So it's you are a holistic person who should, at that point in your life, you are young adults at that stage. Most of you are 18, some of you are even younger than that, but yeah. So it's for you to use that opportunity not only to learn academically, but also to figure out what you like and to fill your CV with those things that the university provides. So yeah, for me, it's not only what happens in the classroom, what happens outside the classroom is very important, especially when there's other skills, soft skills that you can get from different committees and stuff. So
Mm.
yeah, no, yeah, it's nice to see that most of my students took up those opportunities and they're excelling because of that.
Yeah. I think again it's something that is very nice to experience while you're still alive,
Yes.
because a lot of people maybe they are getting there, they will reach their goals, but maybe you won't be there to see it happen. And to see it happen, I think it's one of the fulfilling like feelings that you can have as a facilitator, to see your people that you know that you contributing to making them the professionals that they are now trying and trying to make it work. again, just like how we always say, it's not only about you trying to get the employment. You can opt to be an employer, and a lot of people are trying that. And I think it's something else that we also need to mention, that all the things do not just change and suddenly be flying colors. You need to start somewhere, and being part of the institutions, and also getting to connect with different people, it helps you to, and it equips you to just be able to face life, real life, after varsity. Because I normally like tell my students to say that yes, you can have the paper, then you can have the training, you can try to get whatever that you want to get with this thing. But again, it's also important to connect with people, because then now we can say now that life is different. You need to connect with people, because you do not know who will open your doors in the future. And what do you have to say about that as well?
Yeah, like I think that every opportunity I got
Mm.
was because somebody said something to me. It
Yeah,
was my network that exposed me to those opportunities. I'm at tax and I'm doing my third or my fourth year, and then someone will say, "Hey, we need to think about articles.
mm,
Articles are literally looming.
yeah,
We know, let's go." I saw something at that notice board. As much
yeah,
as yes, they didn't put my CV together, they didn't apply, but they pointed
yeah,
me towards that notice board. And
yeah,
because of that, I was able to actually find opportunities and do so. Someone spoke
mm,
about vacational work while I was still doing my LLB. When it was time for me to move out of practice, like I said, when I was sitting at the investment bank, someone said, "Okay, there's a teaching opportunity." Even for me
yeah,
to get into the investment bank, somebody said, "Okay, Mantwa, there's this happening here."
mm,
When my time at Mangosuthu came to an end, somebody said, "You know what, you really need to consider being at a university where you have LLB students, because professionally you want to stay in academia, you're going to have to
yeah,
go to a university that houses an LLB program." Those were
yeah,
people speaking in my ear. That's my mentorship. I was so lucky when doing my articles that I was mentored, because she was at the same law firm
yeah,
as me, by Judge Denise Mabayeng Linyai. And she's an
yeah,
amazing, extraordinary woman. And you can
yeah,
imagine myself coming 22 years old doing my articles thinking, "Oh, I am this lawyer, I've got it
yeah,
together." And there were times when they'd say, "Hone it in. This is how we
yeah,
behave,"
mm,
regardless of the spaces, those mentorship um, relationships that I've established over time. Where
mm,
I'm sitting now at the University of Venda. Last year, I was given the Lecturer of the Year, and the reason I applied for that was because my
mm,
HOD and my director said, "No, we want to nominate you for this." And I was thinking,
mm,
"Okay, I'll put my portfolio together. I know I'll
yeah,
get something," but I never thought I would be Lecturer of the Year. But it was those
yeah,
people. I just finished in December an entrepreneurship course, and you know how important entrepreneurship is. But again,
mm,
it was the executive dean of our institution to say, "Listen, are you interested in entrepreneurship? I hear you
yeah,
talking about it." But I wouldn't have gotten my postgrad certificate if it wasn't for those. So network is so important. It's
mm,
very key. They also link up my students. So when there's opportunities, because you've been in those spaces, Manta, don't you have students that, want to do this? I remember at Mangosuthu, I had already left and they were looking for diploma and accounting students. Nedbank was looking, but because of that
yeah,
network that I had established from Nedbank, I was able to say, "Listen, here are people they're looking for students, this type of students. Please
mm,
connect your students to this." So having a well-established network not only opens doors for me, but opens doors for my students. And I
mm,
always encourage, even when you're sitting at varsity, who are you doing your assignment with? If you're not forced, like I force people in a group, I'll take,
yeah,
"Hey, you need to move around. But
yeah,
even in that network where you're forced to be in a group with certain people that you've never known, because we always stick to your own people, it
yeah,
exposes you to that specific group and that dynamic. We would call each other and say, "Oh, there's articles here," when we were practicing, and we would connect our friends because they were not working at the time. So
yeah,
establishing a network, and with people from different age groups. Now I've added you. Well, you've always been part of my network. It's such
yeah,
an important space to be in, because what you are doing is going to open doors for my students. You understand?
yeah,
So having a network that works for you, that you can also feed back into, it's not only one-sided. You should also be able to feed into that network, because that's what makes it stronger, because you're you're all connecting each other into the different opportunities. And even if it's just advice, even if it's just mentoring, take that up, because I learned from I have three students that I'm currently mentoring that have come, ma'am, can you please be my mentor? And I learn a lot from them, and also listening to the student perspective on the ground is also very interesting. It makes me a better teacher. I don't call myself a lecturer. I call myself a teacher.
Yeah.
So it makes me a better teacher. So yeah, it's important to establish a very good network.
Yeah, I think again it's something that we'll keep on like emphasizing into our next generation, as to say it's important to get to know the person even next to you right now, even if you're at varsity, get to know all of those people, keep on like being connected with them, check up on them, because again, you do not know 10 years in 10 years time what can happen, because again, all of these people that we call our connections are people that we have shared some interest with, so it's very important to ensure that if you get an opportunity, if there is an opportunity to network with someone, get to know them, because you do not know now. You see, the economy is different and things like are different the way that they are set it up now in South Africa. And I think it's very important that we keep on like emphasizing this. And I just wanna get something also from you. I know that as professionals, we are always trying to further our knowledge and also to try to keep up with current trends on whether we are doing training or whether we are studying. But I wanted to know, what are you currently doing? Do you have any plans? Are you opening something? What's happening, Mantwa?
Yeah, no, I think as being in the academic space, you can never stop learning. Um, you're constantly evolving. You have to, there's the culture of publish or perish in this space in particular. So always working on publications. Some get published, some I sit on for forever. There's some that I've
Yeah,
been sitting on forever. Like I said, last year I was busy with my postgrad in entrepreneurship, and that has opened a couple of doors. I was lucky enough. And again, it's the network. It's the
yeah,
cohort that was in the class that said, Mantwa, there's this grant workshop. Let's go. And I was lucky enough to get one of those grants to work on my current project, which has not really been worked on because of all the academic pull factors that we have. And
yeah,
that's what I'll never shortchange my students, because I'm here because they are. I am Mantwa, the teacher, because of them. So that always comes first.
yeah,
However, currently I'm working on a GBV project, so to speak. In the entrepreneurship course that we did, the last final project was for us to create a prototype of anything, to see that if the principles you've learned throughout the course and if you can actually put them into action. And then and I don't know, yeah, you were definitely still at MUT when Karabo was literally slaughtered, shot dead in her room by her
yeah,
intimate partner. And
yeah,
then last year at the end of Women's Month, we had Uvugala at Univen, who was stabbed to death by her intimate partner. And I'm looking at us as the School of Law. What are we doing? What change are we putting in place for things like this not to happen? Or we
yeah,
all cry, we all go to the funerals, and that's it. So when we were tasked with creating a prototype, initially they said we should create a device, and I did. I created a security device. But then they changed the assignment and they said, no, we should create a course. And I
yeah,
got a grant for the course, which is an interactive GBV course. I created a 3-minute prototype video for that interactive course where you are faced with a scenario and you should be able to answer questions because students do not know where to go. So what do I do in a situation where I'm sitting and I hear gunshots in Karabo's room? Is mine to jump in? Is mine to call protection? Is it safe? People don't even know what to do in that situation. Just the
yeah,
training. We have situations where we get our NSFAS. Most of our students are funded in that way, and the boy child, I guess I should call them the boy men because you're young men at that stage. But for me, you always be
mm,
babies, right? Is
yeah,
now told Indota must provide. That's his
yeah,
only
yeah,
allowance. And those issues around finances, intimate partner relationships, where things just go wrong, you understand, where you can't even eat because you're supposed to be a man that pays for Brazilian. No, how
Yeah.
did we get there? So yes, so it's basically unpacking those intimate partner relationships, whether it's stalking, whether it's rape, whether it's GBV, whatever it is. Um, we need to change our mindset. We need to interrogate those scenarios and see how we got here. And we have a whole history of violence in South Africa. And
Yeah.
it's not to say apartheid is the only reason why we're violent. You know, somebody said to me, and I'm sorry to go into this, but somebody said
Yeah.
to me years ago, and I was like, but hey, when I got to Mangosuthu, I'm like, what is this about, you know, this hand flying when it comes to Zulu
Yeah.
men, you know? And a Zulu man told me, he's like, no, we're not originally like that. Even at times of war, if a specific tribe was coming to attack, we would parade our women and they would literally show their backside, and that was a sign of surrender because umfazi akashayi. But all of a sudden, it's the Zulu men that are so violent. How did we get there? Because that's not originally us. So it's to unpack those things in terms of we are here now. How do we change that mindset? Because our mindset was A before. We need to
Yeah.
get back to A. We need to get back to our principles of Ubuntu and taking care of each other and protecting each other as a Black people and as a nation, as South Africa, all of us included. But it starts with us to make the change. So that's what I'm working on. That's a project that I'm working on. I'm hoping it comes to becoming what I want it to become. But we need a mindset change in our country because universities are a reflection of society, unfortunately. It's not what's happening. It's literally what's happening. We have femicide, we all were purple, we all were black, or whatever the case may be. But after we wear those things, what are we doing on the ground? And for me, that's one thing that I want to roll out so that there can be a change, and it's easy. My target is my students at that
Yeah.
age where some of you, your frontal lobe is not completely developed, so there's still a chance of change, and that's why that would be my target.
Well, I think that was really deep, if I were to say, because this things is something that really affects our society, and it's conversations that we need to have. And I just pray that whatever that you want to create or whatever that you want to make out of it, you achieve it, because again, all of these things, you just need other people to also hold your hand so that this thing can happen. And if possible, if there is a way you can also include someone like me. I can try to do whatever that I can do to try and contribute into what you are trying to create, because I think it's something that is valid, and it's something that we would want to be part of because we want to change our society. And now, as we are getting into the end of our like interview, I want to get also one thing from you, just a word of advice to our students that maybe is suddenly uncertain about finishing up their qualification, because now we know in South Africa there is a high rate of unemployment, and now people they are suddenly saying, hey, there is no need for me to even do this qualification or so finish this qualification, because at the end I'll be unemployed. So what words of motivation that you can give into such students?
Yes, no, the reality is what it is. And you do find people sitting at home with their qualifications.
Mhm.
Um, but you are in a better position because if something does come up, you'd be the first one there. But I'd
Mm,
also want us to switch from waiting to be employed and becoming the employer. Like
mm,
I have over the years gathered a number of skills that I can confidently sit and say, oh, I want to operate and do and get into this GBV space. I know that I'll need and thank you. Thank you for putting your hand up. I need a network to make this project successful. It's not my law degree alone that will make it successful. I would need the input, especially from younger people than me, in terms of what are you guys thinking? What is the mindset? You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is the skills that you acquire, the technical skills, put
yeah,
you at an advantage. It's not at a disadvantage, regardless of where in life you want to fall into. Some people had started off with an accounting degree, and all of a sudden they are in the AI space, they are in
yeah,
cybersecurity,
yeah,
but the technical degree, I remember how I got into the investing private space. It was
yeah,
because I had an LLB degree. I can't count. I've told you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I can't count. I can't. I don't even know how I got into the private banking
Yeah, I was
space.
actually like surprised when you told me that you were part of that space.
Exactly.
Like, how are you there? How did you find yourself there? You know?
Exactly. And it was
Yeah.
because I could think logically and systematically because I was trained to think like that. I was an admitted attorney. So those skills that I had there did help me in that
Yeah.
private bank space. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
understand why you are there and why what you are learning. Those
Mm.
technical abilities that are given to you by universities, whether it's at the university, whether it's a TVET, whatever tertiary institution that you are in, those things are going to help you think. You're trained in a specific way. And that's why it's important to have that, because you can't have that when you're just sitting with matric, because you don't know how to think like that. You don't know how, you don't have those higher order thinking skills, because that's what we train and that's what we give you. And also the soft skills that people don't have. How to just network. You don't just get someone and say, oh, I want to network with you. You
Yeah.
are trained in terms of how to start a conversation. You know that, okay, oh, this person specializes in this. You would have been taught that, oh, let me research this person so that when I do go to them, I speak about their work. That's a nice
Mm.
opener. Where are you going to learn that? Ngemetric njekpel. You understand? So there's so many skills, and that's why it's important, like I said, not only to focus on your qualification when you're at the university, open yourself up to the different society, the different things like nectars, things like moot court for law
Yeah.
students, because that training will also help you discover what you like, because you need to know
Yeah.
what you like. We're not all going to
Mm.
become bookkeepers. We're not all going to become attorneys. Look at me, my
Yeah.
career has changed and evolved into different spaces
Yeah.
over
Over the
time.
years. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
Mm.
And now, if I wanted to, and I wanted to just focus on entrepreneurship, I actually can. I
Yeah.
actually can, because of my LLB degree, the fact that I'm an admitted attorney, never mind my master's and my PhD. That training has prepared me for me to go into the different spaces. If you think about the presidents of this country and you start naming them, most of
Yeah.
them had what? An LLB qualification. You
Yeah.
understand? Whether you talk about de Klerk, you talk about
Yeah.
Mandela, you talk
Yeah.
about Thabo, they all had it. And they went,
Mm.
they ran with it with their politics. You understand? It opened up those doors for them. And they did other stuff in that space. They also became entrepreneurs. Hey, hence they have foundations and things like that today. You think about Cyril, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that paper, never ever take that for granted. It's worth doing the work. It is frustrating, and let's validate that. You can't work so hard and then sit at home. However, tap into that network. Eventually, someone will answer. Even people my age, they get retrenched. They're sitting at home and they're literally also disgruntled. So it can happen right in the beginning of your career. It can also happen later. However, the skills that you acquire would be what would keep you going. Like I know a friend of mine, she started studying and said, okay, fine, I don't have work right now. But if I have this qualification in place, when I start working, it will give me an advantage. So it's always an advantage. So don't take it for granted. I think we need to create spaces though, safe spaces, because there's so many scams in South Africa. Safe
Yeah.
spaces to connect people that have not graduated with other skills, with entrepreneurial skills. Like Ute, okay, I have my diploma in accounting and I must now how do I start a bookkeeping? Where do I get clients from? You
Yeah.
understand? And we always say start where you are. And some people don't. They want to start in a big place. But if you start where you are, if we think at Mangosuthu and we think about the stalls outside there, start
Yeah.
there. Start there. And then also value added services are always important. What's the point of me paying a graduate to do my books? The
Yeah.
graduate should have something else. And with AI now, even better, you can find funding for these people that they would never think of. But you have that
Mm.
smartphone that you can connect these people to. They might not think about it, but you can. So start thinking outside the box as well. And while you are there, never stop trying. And it's very hard. And take care of yourself. We know it's a very difficult time. Mentally, it's a lot, especially when everyone was waiting for you to graduate to take care of them. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, you
Yeah.
can't.
It's not
And
happening.
we
Yeah.
yeah, it's difficult. So I think just keep on the grind and also think outside the box.
Well, I want to thank you again for giving all of those kind words and also words of motivation and also guidance because, again, I think you just provided a lot of people guidance into how they can view their lives or how they can maneuver and to make it work with whatever qualification that they have. Not to say it's only about accounting. It's not to say it's only
Yeah.
about law. It's about any other qualification that you have, because the qualification, yes, it's a paper, but there is a lot of things that you go through. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of thinking that is required for you to get that qualification, and people need to make it work somehow, because honestly speaking, it's the economy that we have cannot satisfy everyone. You cannot get jobs to everyone. So you need to also think outside the box on how you are going to use that qualification to make it work for you. And this is what we are trying to tell to our students, and also this is how we want to contribute into the society. And I want to thank you again, Mantwa, for availing yourself today for us to have a chat. And I think this interview did give me what I was looking for: words of motivations, like guidance, and also for people to get to know Umantwa, the professional, and also Umantwa, the human, and it was really important that we had this conversation, and I would want us to call it a day and have a great morning.
Thank you so much. This has been
Yes.
such an exciting interview for me. And I think
Mm,
the type of work that you're doing to empower, to motivate, to keep it alive, and saying to
mm,
people, listen, there are all these people. They all started from something or somewhere, and
yeah.
they're doing what they can do in their little spaces, and they can also. So well done, and kudos to you, and thank you for such a nice interview. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Manta. We'll just catch up in a minute. Thanks, man.
No problem. Thanks. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
Be Smart SA. Accounting professionals you can trust. Reach out to our consultants.